So, if Future Jordan didn't do the thumbnail, then, well, that's going to be relative to what I'm about to say. Then, if you see anything different in Battlefields, then all you need to know is that I'm testing a thing. And if you don't see anything different, then my test failed. It's odd because I tested it a few times and it worked once, so I don't know how I got it to work. But it's something I'm trying to figure out all on my own. I also want to play the last character again, so we are going to run with Cthulhu, and I'm just going to say Scars because I don't remember random item stats too. So, for timestamp's sake, as we get into Cthulhu Scars random item stats, let's see if we get the Switchblade this time. We do. Is it going to be better for us? Because we're on random item stats? I guess we'll see. But having a weapon is still better than nothing at all. Even if it does 2 damage, I wouldn't like to stick with it, but it'll still be better. If for nothing else than inventory state. Charisma, Dexterity, Knowledge, Toxicon, every single stat check, Strength, it'll be at the end there, unless we have the 6th floor, which is going to be a second mystery check. But, more importantly, as I mentioned before the timestamp, just really quickly, if you see anything different, then my test worked. If it did not, if you don't see anything different, then my test failed. So, off we go. I hardly do that Bath mistake. I was supposed to recover reason. I did not. So, on our plate today, we want to make sure we have battlefields. So, we have Botanist Ward, Arms, and then Diary Battlefields. Again, Battlefields, I need to keep repeating this at least one more time. It's a template placeholder until I finish all the graphics and text work I want to do. And events, obviously. But, as for this run, Arms Ward Botanist. Did I please tell me I have the thingamajiggy set. I actually think we take Diary in the first 3 mysteries? I'm gonna take Arms now then. Yeah, and let's take a quick look at the Switchblade. So it's a faster Switchblade that does 3 damage. You know what? We'll stick with that. But we do need to still grab funds for the hospital pass. I could sell the library notes, but I'm holding out just in case we get something else. Thing-wise. So interesting to note here is that I assume this index for the hospital, because the hospital pass is guaranteed on your first, or if not every illegal den visit, on the first slot. Just a little quick programming thing, getting into is that, yeah, I'm losing my mind at the moment. But yeah, this hospital pass appearing here means that this must be the first slot, not the top slot here. So that means the top slots must have been added by Perm. And then the bottom ones, I mean, I'm sure that it opens up bottom slots, but that would mean you have to actually shift these 2 things down. Hire an ally and needs the perk. So, I mean, I guess I'm curious about how that works. But anywho, we need to grab the hospital pass. If we run into out of funds, we'll trade off stamina. And off we go. Actually, I should have used the police station, but we'll deal. And as I just said, so since we got reason there, we'll use it one more time, and then we sell their library notes, if they sell for funds. They do, thankfully. So now I don't have to worry about out of funds, at least for now, and police station. Off we go. So what I wanted to actually talk about was interesting things I saw. And I know it sounds like you keep beating it over the head when I mention it, but really, that's -1 fun. Anywho, yeah, is basically our topic of AI art more specifically, and even more specific than that. Let's just say I saw an example of AI pixel art, and boy oh boy, if you heard me talk about it on this channel, I'll mention it again here, but just in case you didn't hear it, or just to, at least emphasize the point. When a pixel is off on pixel art, you can really see it. Now, would I say that? Yeah, you know what? I will say that. So, and this is obviously just my opinion. I say just as if that... I'm not saying that as if to excuse myself, but you would think that... Well, first of all, you would think that, hey, some of you out there might be thinking, with pixel art, how hard could it be? You're just putting pixels into place. But I would argue that, as I just mentioned, a pixel out of place will make something look a little strange, basically. Just like how a brushstroke can be out of place, just like how you can accidentally put a shape on certain pieces of art in just a few inches or centimeters off, depending on what your metric system is, if you use the metric system. But an example here is, even more so, let me finish the thought, is that when you have, when you only have 128 pixels to work with, you're gonna notice differences in pixels a lot more than if you had 1,000 pixels to work with. That being said, in both instances, I would still argue that, again, if a pixel or 2 is off, it can make all the difference. And when I say off, I actually should be saying artwork looks different when a few pixels are off than if you move them back in the same place, and hey, maybe it looks different. A specific example is that, so take the chibi figure of World of Horror when you're walking. If you place, say, and you say you are making a face of someone else, okay, I do have handcuffs. Say you are making the head of a chibi figure with pixel art. So say you, and then you have, say, 16 pixels to work with. 16 pixels in a square maybe results in the chibi figure's face. If all of those pixels are white pixels, so that's the face, and then you put a black outline to kind of show the head. If you put another black pixel right next to the edge of the head, as to make, say you want to make the eyes, that's going to look a lot different than if you put that black pixel one more pixel to the left or right, and there's a white pixel in between. That will make a figure look different. And if you don't understand, and if you've lost where I'm getting at this point, just know that I promise you that it looks different when you do something like that. In fact, I should probably actually use that as an example, but I guess we'll try to figure that out at the end of the video, if I want to do so. That being said, here, as for this encounter here, man, my accuracy is not great. I don't even get a lot out of this. If this heals stamina, I would consider this, but since it doesn't, I guess I'll run. Yeah, so that's still the biggest weakness of a character with low strength, is that you really suffer. And that was with scars, by the way. Do I have burns or something? What's going on? No, I don't, but I'm just taking extra damage. Or that really does well, I'm scars though. I'm going crazy. Anywho, let's level up. So this character does have, I think, did you need to pair stealth and running shoes perk packs together? I think you did, right? Still, though, we'll take it just in case we need to run, and I actually want to take knowledge to avoid ghost encounter tragedies, because otherwise we're doing, like, I think 2 sever damage, actually. So, just making sure I took my bath. I think into diary we go. We can save battlefields for later. The problem is this encounter, if we have a bunch of... if we're taking a lot of damage. So I'm going to pop into the history club really quickly, and... we have a lot of reason healing. We needed stamina healing. Or some way to recover stamina outside of resting. But, shrug. Why did that? Does that friend really do 4 all damage outside of thing? Also, yeah, I didn't give the curious package. But still, stamina was my primary concern there. So it didn't matter if I gave the package there. I mean, it still mattered, because then I would have been taking reason damage. But you get the point. I wasn't willing to take the stamina damage. Anyway, moving on. So we can run away and just take 10 experience for 5 doom, but it's not going to be worth the 1 all damage we're taking here. So fun times ahead. I think this is part of the Vine Pack. The Vine Pack. I'm just going to call it the Vine Pack here, but so I took 2 all damage. How much experience did I get? 14 experience. Okay, good. If that was, I mean, even if it was 8 experience, I would have taken it. But there are encounters that only give you, like, I think 5 experience, if I recall correctly. So shrug, and I hope I hit at least 3 of these attacks, preferably the strong, so we can do desperate struggle stuff. Now, will I hit this? Is the question. Yes. So we do 12 damage guaranteed. I'm always questioning myself on that, because I never know if I do my math wrong, even though I'm working with base numbers on that example. But also here you see 7 experience. By the way, we don't have anything, so catch, nope. Stamina damage. Well, it's been a long time since I did this mystery, by the way, so I wasn't going to remember this event. Yeah, diary, but I'm pretty sure I actually just happened to take stamina damage there. I also missed because of a modifier, by the way. So we'll do another run. Goodness gracious. So, yeah, we're gonna do a thing at the end. I'm not gonna make any cuts. Maybe I won't make a cut, but we'll see. But we'll do Herald Fatalist, and we'll see what happens. Because I need to at least do battlefields. That's the primary reason I'm doing another run, so I can see if I do a thing correctly. So, Herald into Fatalist. But we can see where Battlefields is. That being said, if I don't find Battlefields immediately, well... because I like to play Fatalist from left to right, but if we're trying to purposely take my mystery first, then I need to look at the mysteries on the board. Knowledge, second encounter, second mystery, strength, dexterity, maybe Takshisan. But definitely remember my second encounter, because if I make it to the lighthouse, it would be great to remember that too, so I have extra doom to work with, or just have an extra doom to spend somewhere elsewhere in the run. So I hope Battlefields is here. It is, so we'll take it first. And specifically, we're looking at, I think, the third event here, which is basically the event I showed you previously. But yeah, not hungry. Take reason in the face. Yeah, I would rather take funds. I would rather spend the funds for something there. I'm pretty sure. Anywho, we'll look for a late way out. Nope, rolled an 11. We're gonna keep gambling, and we did not win the gamble. So 5 doom, 3 stamina loss. So, if I try to keep remembering, I'm just going to take 2 doom in the face, and I did not do a thing. It was supposed to be a linked event, but it didn't appear, so I guess that thing didn't work out. This one is as normal. I just purposely connected this event twice. Actually, I was supposed to pick the left option, I think, but it's fine. Just, if for no other reason than to go over options I didn't go in the previous episode and this episode, but it's too late now. We never equipped the butterfly knife, by the way, which I think is actually better than the switchblade here, but shrug. So off we go. But yeah, pixel art is, I think, a very finicky thing to use. That being said, well, on top of that, as we take Labyrinth immediately, is that, yeah, with AI pixel art, if you don't know how to scrutinize pixel art specifically, my first piece of advice would be to zoom in. Zoom in and you will immediately see, and compare that with non-AI pixel art. Again, I'm not slamming AI art in general, although most people say I would, because my honest opinion is that it's really hard. I will still scrutinize and criticize it, especially if it's bad, but as a rule, I'm not going to slam AI art immediately. Now, that being said, there are a lot of not ethical concerns, but also legal concerns, because by nature, as we go into this fight here, and we're going to take a lot of damage because we can't brace, so proof and point. But actually, we need to save the strong attack for when we want a desperate struggle. But it's because my main issue is that you can't really rely on what the AI art is really pulling from. Right after that, of course, would be kind of the ethos behind it. So the first part is more the legal concern, because, and then, this might imply, well, Jordan, doesn't that mean you're just waiting for it to become basically, if AI art weren't taking from someone else, would you use it? Still no, because I'm still, again, I have my own ethos, so that's why immediately after that, my concern, as I was trying to see if I could use this point in strength, the answer is no. In fact, no, that did apply. Okay, that did apply. So I can at least do this. I'm gonna gamble on it because we want to take less damage, but more importantly, there is an ethos to AI art that I'm not willing to use. That being said, my primary concern is that I don't have any problem with other people using it. I'm just afraid of the that people don't understand the legal ramifications of using AI art. Then right after that, obviously, is the issue with just using it in general. I'm not someone who's that professional, who knows that much about it myself, even though I have gone into it. I mean, if you didn't already hear, I once did an experiment on video game development with AI art. By the way, these are non-commercial projects because I did not want to go into any. I didn't want to risk anything. But let's see here: 12 HP, 60. We're gambling on 65%. I can't even option. Oh, can I option select? No, I can't option select. I was gonna say, could I trade? Do I have stamina heal? I did have stamina healing. I had cauterize, but I forgot that spell for reason recovery. We're gonna gamble. If I lose here, well, pain. But But yeah, there's more I could say. There's a whole video's worth that I don't have to be playing World of Horror in, but let me just show you what I mean. So if I can load up a chibi figure really quickly, and get into it. So, but let me just explain. So for those who didn't hear, or me talk about it before, I did an experiment in which I used AI art for a video game, and I made another video game that did not have AI art. That basically I made all the art myself. And let's just say that the AI art video game did at least 10 times better audience-wise. Now, that being said, it wasn't a huge number, but for someone like me, it's if you're just starting out, let's just say a few hundred players. I'm throwing out a number here, so these are just examples. But a few hundred people is better than a few tens of people, let's just say. And yeah, now again, does that mean I'm gonna do something like that? I mean, you just have to believe me when I say I'm not doing something like that at the moment. But, and you don't try to dissect my words. I said at the moment, but those are more filler words because I'm trying to figure out if I'm also just filling in time as I'm trying to get this chibi on screen. But yeah, just basically no, it did better. Now, that being said, you have to understand why that's the case, because the general audience, and I do believe this, the general audience doesn't really care about the AI issue, for better or worse. Again, that's not me trying to be subjectively being like, oh, one side is correct and one side is not. No, that's just me going, that's just what I see. But at the same time, I also have to say that, yeah, a lot of AI art projects in game development, specifically AI art, I'm not mentioning AI music or AI story-based driven things, although you could apply the same, because most examples of that, like if we were to look at the whole pile of video games that use AI art or do not use AI generated things, a lot of them are doing worse. And the same thing can be said the opposite way, in which you could say, well, Jordan, video games, like if you start to take the whole, only a fraction, like even a single digit percentage are doing relatively well. So whether it uses AI generated anything or not, doesn't use AI at all, you still have a vast number of, say, like, just throwing out a number, 95% of video games don't do well, quote unquote, as opposed to games that do well. But anywho, as I actually have something on screen now, let me just make sure I'm throwing it up the right way, because sometimes I have a big zoom in on GIMP. But if we're to transition here, so say I have, so this is Dai, this is a character I made with World of Horror and GIMP, but no, I was not going to say AI art. That I would promise you. So pretend this is the figure here and you're making the face here. So to kind of illustrate my point. So with AI art, let's AI pixel art. Let's just say I saw an example of this. This is, or like this. This is what AI art would look like if you zoom in. So, and this looks a lot different than this, basically. Or even say if you make the size of the pixel smaller, this looks a lot different than this, in my opinion. Because, I mean, if you don't believe that, that's up to your subjective eye in art. And I think that's the beautiful part about just art in general. And the main reason I'm not going to slam AI art in general anyway is that if you can do it ethically and legally, and my baseline for ethical quote-unquote AI art is basically if you're just using it based off your own things. So say I have, and I kind of indirectly mentioned it at least before, but at that point, how much is it? Because AI art is kind of slammed onto the pile of, oh, you're taking art from other people and generating your quote-unquote your own art based on art from other people. But the way that I look at it more ethically is that if you have, say, your own templates or own faces, so say you have a face like this and maybe a face like this that you drew all on your own, and then maybe the AI art generates something like this, or maybe it generates something like this. Basically, you're using your own art to generate your own thing. Much like how the more parallel to talk about in this sense would be basically character generators are not AI art, because you think about the way that AI art is generated and you leave it to a machine to make it, as opposed to a character generator where someone has made the generator and you use parts and you choose willy-nilly. But you see what I mean by kind of where the line gets blurred in between them and where I'm trying to differentiate things. So if you're using your own, say, art to basically have whether you make a program to generate art on your own based on your own things, or you make a program in which someone else chooses the parts and has things shift around. Another common example I can't really bring up at the moment because I have my own project open on RPG Maker, is RPG Maker's character generator, in which there's a difference between that and having the player shift where, because in RPG Maker with character generators, there's a way to basically shift parts of what character you generate. So you can shift things 2 pixels down yourself, or shift them 2 pixels up, or 1 pixel left, 1 pixel right, 1 pixel up, 1 pixel down, and then having a machine do that for you and pick kind of, quote unquote, pick the best option. That's kind of where I differentiate between my the social cultural definition of AI art, as opposed to more, I guess, what's the other word to mention what I'm trying to say? Character generators. So again, throw that in as you will. If you're still like, oh yeah, Jordan, you're right, or you're like, oh Jordan, I hate you now, I'm not gonna watch you anymore. I'm not really in control of what you do. I just hope that people make decisions on their own. And I'm not going to slam any game that immediately especially if they're upfront about the AI use. But obviously, it's because I think that it's a lot that we have a lot of lies basically in this day and age. People lie a lot in this day and age, especially as it pertains to the use of not just AI art, but things that basically, I guess, the behind the scenes of games. I'm not really thinking, I guess, the process of game development and whether it's done ethically, because I do think the ethics are important. It's just that at the same time, I also understand if people just want to make something, whether it's a commercial, whether they're doing it for capital gain, or they're doing it to kind of, I guess, try to just get something out and start getting their feet wet with video gaming, because that's I guess, one of the other things I mentioned, is that people use AI to kind of just get into the process of becoming a game developer. But obviously the pushback is that you would fall into basically you would fall into like, oh, if you're used to using AI, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's text generation for story or character dialogue, once you get into it, you're never going to stop doing it. And I kind of understand where that comes from as well, because I do also believe, as we end this video, that developers have their own motifs that they use in game development, whether it's the type of characters they like to make, whether it is the type of stories they like to write, whether it's the story beats they like to write, or maybe it's game mechanics or design that they use from one game to another. It's all there. But if you agree, if you don't agree, if you want to persuade me otherwise, if you want to point out things that I may have said as a mistake, or you just don't agree with certain things, please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.